another episode of She Decides, host Staci Swiderski sits down with She Decides producer Cara Maple as they reflect on what began as a podcast and evolved into a powerful platform for women's voices, stories, and self-defining decisions. Over the past year, She Decides has amplified women who chose courage over comfort, clarity over expectation, and purpose over permission. This episode is a celebration of 1 year of choosing yourself, trusting your voice, and remembering that when she decides, everything changes. You know who made it. Hey everyone, I'm excited to start today's podcast. I'm actually the producer of She Decides podcast, and I get the honor and pleasure to interview our host, Staci Swiderski, as we celebrate 1 year of She Decides podcast. Staci, welcome to your podcast.
Well, thank you for having me.
This is kind of exciting because, I've been able to watch you behind the scenes with your many guests for the whole year. And, when you launched She Decides, there really was a deeper purpose behind it. And I'd love to know kind of how 1 year later have you accomplished that with She Decides? And did it become exactly what you wanted, bigger, just kind of where you are today with this podcast?
Great question. And I think it's really cool too, because I have no idea what questions you're going to ask me. So you have me in the hot seat. Seat today.
Gotta have you occasionally. You got 41 episodes or 42 episodes of guests who weren't, sure what you were going to ask them. And now we get to do it with you.
Well, let me answer that question. Gosh, there's so many answers for that question, but I'm going to pinpoint it to where it has honestly exceeded my expectations, which naturally I think I'm harder on myself. So I always think something is, I could have done it better, or it could have been bigger or more unique or whatever it may be. But I think really what has exceeded my own expectations were the amazing women that we brought on as guests. And, you learn only so much by somebody's bio, right? You don't really get to know their personality. And even if you have a pre-interview with somebody, you really don't know everything until you get into the nitty gritty. And so many women that we met in this past year have just blown me away. And, what it also has made me realize, because honestly, and this is all about transparency. I'm going to lay it all out there today.
Go for it.
Yes. My idea of starting this podcast was mainly, I wanted solely like high executive women, and really even more than that, I wanted entrepreneurs. I wanted, those business women. And the more women that we met, it really opened up my thought process to where this podcast, yes, while it's centered around business and elevating women, you don't have to be a business owner or this, an entrepreneur to be a guest on this podcast, to be an amazing guest on this podcast and to learn from. I think women can learn from women no matter really where they're at in their life, and be elevated. And, obviously the main goal, what really it has opened my eyes to, is just women who are tough and they have that grit. And I think every single one of our guests that we've had on this year, they've gone through maybe a little bit of shit to get to where they are in their own terms and their own meaning of success. So I guess long story short, it has surpassed my expectations on that level. Now, is there more I want to do? Absolutely. And
absolutely.
We're just starting, right? But
we're going to have to do another episode with your future plans and all your secrets, because, everyone's going to know how big this is going to get. So
yeah, I'm excited for it. And I'm excited for what's to come.
I love it. Well, you've been very intentional about using this podcast as a platform. And, you mentioned that it's exceeded your expectations with a variation of guests from what it started out to be, to really kind of more evolved into just giving women kind of a space. So why is it important for you to elevate women's voices, their lived experiences, and really, their decision-making journeys on success, possible failure, and where they are today?
Great question again. It's really important to me to share any of my past experiences where I can really maybe provide that shortcut for other women, if possible. And so knowing what I've gone through, I was not raised around people who have had, business in their back pocket, right? So
Yeah.
I just always knew what I wanted to become in life. I always knew I wanted to do more, be more. And to have this platform to bring on other like-minded women to really motivate our listeners, because I was one of those at one point where I
Yeah.
wish I would have had a platform like this. It would have saved me a lot of years. But I think too, I certainly don't regret that because it has, and I think that's everybody says it. I don't regret it because it's made me who I am today.
Yeah.
But sometimes you don't know if you don't know, you don't
Well,
know. So,
that's true. But
but
maybe you didn't have to go through all of that to still be who you
maybe
are
a little
today.
bit of it would have been,
Yeah.
maybe a little
Yeah.
bit of it, a little,
Yeah.
eating that, eating that tough love. But yeah, that really is, that was my motivating, reasoning behind launching this podcast to bring on other women to maybe help them evolve a little quicker. Maybe get them right back on a path that maybe they needed that, to divert a little bit. But, and also it's motivating to me. I love talking to these women and I learn from these women that we bring on as guests, and so selfishly, it's a win-win. So
Yeah.
yeah, that really is my motivating factor behind it all. And, to really build a platform where we can do a lot bigger things too in the future. And those are coming.
I love that, and I get to listen to every episode twice because I get to record it with you and then I get to edit it later. And a lot of the guests really
Thank
stand
goodness
out
for
to
your
me.
editing though, by the way.
Well, I'm glad for that, and I think, throughout the year, we've highlighted a lot of bold, life defining decisions women have made throughout their career. And even recently, we had the pleasure of attending Dr. Tanya Miller's bookstore opening. But when she was on your podcast, she was still in the corporate world. And she was
Yes, I
talking
remember
about
that.
this dream. And I'd like to think she decides inspired her a little bit to take that leap, but it was
Aw,
really
I
kind
hope
of
so.
exciting, right? And so kind of tell me about when you experienced, being able to attend her bookstore opening and just remembering how she was talking about it as a dream in the corporate world just even a few months before. How did that make you feel, kind of knowing that you were invited and were kind of a small part of that decision making of her taking that next leap into her life?
Well, that was a real life, memory and moment for myself. And I mean, you were there too. So, so you got to witness just, everything that she's accomplished and to sit back and just watch her in her element, in her happy phase. Cause yes, when she was a guest on our podcast, she shared that what her dream really was, but she was, it's a little nervous to
Yeah.
leave that comfort zone, right? But yeah, to play a small little part in that, that's I feel that's what I'm meant to do, and that's what I love doing, and that is really what inspires me. But yeah, showing up to her bookstore opening, you know, I'll never forget getting out of the car, walking up there. We were early. Remember, we were
We
early,
were
by the
early.
way. So yeah. So she's like, "Oh, if you want to go get some coffee." So we're like, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah, we were early." But when we came back, she had a pretty good crowd outside the storefront. You remember that?
Yes. Yeah.
And we were walking up and she just immediately, it was like, "Oh my gosh, everybody, you have to meet Staci and you have to," and that just for her to provide that introduction. It wasn't about me. Obviously, this is about her and her bookstore,
Yeah.
but it was about, there was a sense, in me that I was like, wow, I'm to see her in her glory and to her, her dream coming true of what she talked about on the podcast,
Yeah.
right? And to be a sense of a motivator behind that and telling her, this is really your dream. I think you should. I think you should do everything you possibly can to make it happen. And she did a lot of work, she
She
had to,
did.
oh
Yeah.
my
And it's bigger than a
goodness.
bookstore. Remember, she has that really high quality
The
podcast
the
room in the back for
podcast,
the community to
yes.
use. She's
Yes. It's
definitely,
gorgeous. The amount of work that she put into this, it's gorgeous. And she put her heart and soul into it. And
yeah.
so just seeing somebody that is in their element, and they're just so happy with their decision. That's just what really lights me up. And, really it also goes way back to family source, right? I mean, we have
Yeah.
so many broken families that come to us, or,
Yeah.
intended parents that they just want to be a parent so, 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 so bad. And they just don't know if it's ever going to exist for them. And, when I've had the opportunity to meet with intended parents over the past 19 years, to be able to at that point be their biggest cheerleader. And then, even though they're like, yeah, 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 whatever, but they're going to trust their gut because they really, really just want to be a parent, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day. But, fast forward to, 2 years later, a year and a half later, when they're holding their baby, like, that's what it's all about, is watching
Yes.
people really, just reach their goals and their dreams and seeing them in that happy space. And that's what, to me, life is all about.
Yeah.
Life is too short. Let's live it to our fullest, and let's motivate and uplift others along the way.
I love that, and just, remembering more of our guests, and we'll just highlight a few. Granted, we've had many guests on the podcast. Not going to be able to go through them all, or that would just be, a 4-hour episode.
That'd be round two.
But, I remember Dr. Bionda, she shared what
beautiful.
Her courage in building something meaningful while still while still honoring her identity and purpose. And remember building Jelthy and MD Health and just taking that path. And then Kathy Colon, who shared how important it is to trust yourself even when your path is uncertain. And she has that incredible real estate business. And, just talking about those stories really resonated deeply with our listeners. And I think a couple of those stood out from, the comments and things like that. So with that, what do you believe these conversations gave the women, gave the audience who was listening, especially those possibly standing at a crossroads, questioning what step they should take? What do you think it helped them find in their purpose?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're seeing real life stories in women who have overcome so much challenge and sometimes heartache and, just courage. And they're seeing that this can really happen in real life. And so if they're able to do it, and so can I, type of reflection. And I think you need certain people in your life to give you that encouragement, and honesty as well. Honesty is so important, and not everybody has that. So again, this platform that we have to listen to those real life stories, I'm hoping it's motivating so many women and people. It doesn't have to be women, just people, motivating people.
The whole audience,
Yes, to become their best selves. So yeah, I think what it comes down to is like, hey, if they can do it, I can do it. Type of thing. And then they're continuing to listen to our podcast, and hopefully, they've branched out, and maybe they're reading, books or whatever it is, or seeking a mentor, or reaching out to their own network to really motivate them. But it's really planting a seed in them to just take that plunge. And maybe in some sense, maybe it wasn't the best direction, and they've had to pivot. Right? Let's be honest. Like, it's not all butterflies and rainbows, right? Not everybody is going to say, this is my dream, I'm going to make it happen no matter what. Well, maybe it's not the best dream, but through that, research and heartache or whatever it is, and just grit work, they will eventually find it. And so, yeah, I think listening to those true life, stories and situations they're eye openers, and it gives people that possibility and that hope.
I like, their dream might not necessarily be wrong in that regard, but a variation of it, like you're saying. Maybe what they expected and hoped for after doing that research or listening to possibly an episode, they realize, ooh, I need to pivot a little bit. They can keep a variation of the dream, but maybe, and I think that's real. Not every business that has started succeeds. We've listened to that in many episodes. We read about it all the time. Yeah. We've got, and that kind of brings me to some of the other guests that we've spoken to. We've got Dr. Pam Johnson, who's the vet who just started her new venture in Pets United, in Fitz-Kohler, if you remember. She's
so much energy
for the racing. She just came out with her new book.
Yes, I bought it, and I started reading it, and it's amazing. It's very inspirational. And, speaking of Fitz, I mean, wow, talk about challenges. Somebody who,
Yeah.
faced breast cancer and, you know,
Hmm.
so much. And man, she stands out definitely so brightly, because I don't think through that whole episode I heard one negative thing from her.
Exactly. Hmm.
I mean, she just turned everything into
Everything
like an
into a
opportunity.
positive.
Yes, into an
Yeah. Yeah.
opportunity to, yes, to ultimately be positive or a learning lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. It's another great thing for the audience to see that you can have challenges, you can have, very traumatic things happen to you, but it's how you handle it and how you come out of it. And you can always find the good and still remember that we're blessed to have this life. And that's exactly what she did. She's living her best life, and I love that for her. And I kind of love also knowing the variation of guests you've had. You've had coaches, vets, you've had a lot AI and tech people. You had Arena Wood, who created Gemini near
Yes.
me,
Yeah. What a beautiful
right?
human. Yes.
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 You
I
had,
mean, early in the early days, Jessica Salzman, who is, oh my
yes.
gosh, she's
Hmm.
amazing at, a salon owner,
Hmm.
specializes definitely in extensions, and, hearing her
Her
perspective.
story.
Yeah. Her story
Yes.
was so touching, beautiful. As a mom to two young children, and just being the, two little girls, and being the best example, for
Hmm.
them, and but being honest and true. And yeah, I mean, just such a variation of so many powerful, amazing women that we've had. And like I said, I feel really honored and blessed to be on this side and interviewing them, because every single episode I learned something from them every single
I
time.
I think that's beautiful because I know you're giving them the platform, but the fact that you take something from it too. And I love that you have had, like you said at the beginning, you started out with this idea of women business, women executives, entrepreneurs, things like that. And it's kind of evolved. We had, Ria, who has the wellness retreat in Sedona,
In
and you've
Arizona,
had
yeah.
so many different guests. So now knowing that and the variety of guests you've had, who would be kind of some dream guests for She Decides podcast in a variation of careers or anything at all that you'd love to possibly see in the future to have the audience, your listeners, kind of connect to now?
Oh goodness, so many amazing women, that I would love to have on our podcast. Of course, I will still stick to, women who have reached that level of success, because again,
Mhm.
that's the motive behind our podcast, because we all want to learn from them, right? We want to
Yes.
just get out every bit that we can of knowledge, and business advice, and just life advice. Um, but if I had one guest who I could have on this, and she's definitely well known, so I'm gonna name a name. I'm gonna name drop versus
Name
just the
drop.
type of guest, but it would probably be probably Emma Green.
Okay.
She's a podcast. She has a podcast obviously as
Yep.
well, and
Aspire.
started around the same time that we
Yes.
did.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's not so much because I love her interviewing style. I think she's fascinating at that as well. I think it's great and all that's beautiful. And it's not even so much the guests that she has. She obviously has a lot of
Mhm.
celebrity guests, but it's more her as a person. The just what she has achieved in life, and her grit and her
Yes.
realness. I feel that I can really resonate with her on that level. um she's come from very humble beginnings, and likewise, and she's had to work her way up to where she's at, and you know ensure that she is taking advantage of every possibility to
Mhm.
make sure that she is going to live out her dreams. And so I've listened to many, many, many of her podcasts. And it's just very inspirational. Yes, while she brings on great guests that give great advice and all that, a lot of them, yes, they're very blessed. They're already past that, their
Yes.
celebrity status. So, but again, I get more out of listening to her and learning from her individually than the guests. But that's because that's just what I
Are
gravitate towards
gravitating
that.
towards, yes,
Yes.
her
Yeah.
experience, her guidance, and kind of just
Yeah.
seeing her as somebody that you resonate with.
And I thought it was kind of cool because when she started I had no idea she was starting her podcast because we had plans to start,
Yeah.
well in advance before we started. And I think she launched her first podcast same month as we did in
Yes.
January, right? So, of just 1 year ago. And, but I knew about who she was,
Mhm.
here and there before behind the scenes, with the whole Good American and all that. Um, and it was like, oh yeah, whatever, but listening to her podcast, getting to know her was, on that level of what she's gone through. That is what really, that made me realize that I can learn a lot from somebody like that who has literally been through, like I said, the trenches in life. And so,
I think that's so important because we have all heard of Emigrate and we've seen her bio and we know what she's tied to, but seeing her on this podcast, just like you on this podcast and your guests, it really gives listeners a whole other
oh,
look
totally.
into life and their business and how they operate and how they got to where they were. And I think that's so critical.
Well, I think it's so important that at the end of the day, you always want to be your authentic self, right? And again, I did not know who she was before. I knew who Good American was, and I've seen her here and there, on interviews, but nothing. I wouldn't even have sought out her. Right now, I try to keep up with her podcast when I can, and or in the car or whatever. But it's when you can be true to yourself and you can be your authentic self. I think that's what people really admire and they gravitate towards. And so we all have this responsibility. When we have a platform like a podcast or whatever it is, or you're in the public eye or whatever it is, to really just be yourself. And because it makes that next interview or the next opportunity that much smoother and that much easier. Not everybody's going to love you, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You're not meant for that, right? But the ones that do, and if you're able to help them in some small way, that's what it's all about. Because I would not want to try to memorize what I said, 6 months ago or 2 months ago. I am just who I am. And, I'm never going to be the smartest person in the room. I'm never going to be the most successful. I'm never going to be maybe the whatever. But I do know that I will always be true to myself. And that is what people, I think, really appreciate, especially now with social media and all this, stuff that is this world that we live in now that we never thought was going to be a thing
Yeah.
with AI and all that. But yeah, to speak from your heart and what really matters, I think people really appreciate that.
I think that's something that I've really enjoyed watching with you as you interview the guests. Every single guest really appreciates your ability to connect to them and listen and give them that, but you're always you throughout. They know who they're going to get. If they've watched an episode, they know they're going to get that same host. And I think that just goes such a long way that whether you are in person, at a bookstore opening, whether you are at a big event and someone recognizes you or you're hosting, you're still just Staci Swiderski. And I think that's so important that these women are inspired by the realness of who you are. So,
Well, yeah. And again, I think that just comes from, I never want to, hype myself up to where like be somebody who I'm not, or, and, but having those hype people in the room, you're one of them. I have so many wonderful friends and family and just acquaintances who are like, wow, I'm so impressed with X, Y, and Z. And on the flip side, I'm over here thinking, I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to know these people. And yeah, I think at any given moment, anything can happen to anybody, right? So, but at the end of the day, you can't just manifest stuff without working for it. And I know that I come from a place of just so much sacrifice and
mhm.
hard work. And sometimes I have to pinch myself saying, wow, I really did accomplish that. And as an entrepreneur, founder, and
Yeah.
it's sometimes you kind of get lost a little bit, right? Like you're still
Yes.
in the grind because you love it so much. But I think it's healthy to, which I need to do it more of it, is to step back and appreciate yourself. And
Celebrate you a little bit. I think it's
yeah,
important. And you had a blog recently that you put out that said, honor your progress, but don't lose momentum. And I think it's important for you to remember, for everyone to remember, celebrate your wins, acknowledge how good, you've done something or whatever, but that doesn't mean you have to lose the passion, the drive to continue to build. And something that I think that entrepreneurs, especially because
full disclosure, not one, not an entrepreneur, don't have that gene in me. I know it, I recognize it. I am definitely the doer. But as an entrepreneur, you're cursed with it never being enough at times. So it's hard to stop and actually celebrate that moment because you're already raising the bar again. You don't ever get to it. You don't get to the finish line because now you've moved the bar. All right, you see you're going to accomplish it. So now that bar just moved. And that's something that I've witnessed with you. You move that bar consistently. And sometimes you forget to celebrate how great you are before you, okay, yes, actually hit the bar though. Run through the tape at one of Fitz's races, right? Run through the tape and then just start the next race. And I think that's something that you also have to remember to celebrate, but all, business owners do. And I recognize a pattern with all the entrepreneurs that have been on your show, that it's a very similar thing that everyone has to remember. I did do X, Y, and Z really good, even though I'm still chasing A, B, C, D. It's okay to still celebrate your wins.
I think it's like really, it comes down to, it's kind of like the visionary piece in it all.
Yes.
It's like, you just want more and more and more. And that doesn't mean that you don't appreciate what you've accomplished, but sometimes you got to stop and smell the roses and celebrate yourself along the way. And that's something that maybe I'll make that my New Year's resolution.
There you go.
I'll slow down a little bit and celebrate that a little bit. But no, I love celebrating others. And that's kind of my high, and helping others. And, but like I said, selfishly, I've been so motivated along the way as well. This whole year of having some amazing guests on our podcast.
I know you're very much about celebrating others. I witness it. I get to, like I said, be a part of the behind the scenes. After hearing from so many women of so many different backgrounds, what common threads have you kind of noticed about possibly what redefining success looks like? Or did success look the same to you after a year of different guests as it did for entrepreneurship prior to starting this platform?
Oh, 110,000 trillion times over. Yeah, success anytime. And I'm going to go even way back to when I started my first company. Success to me at the time was, I've got to build, I've got to scale, I've got to prove to the world that I'm an expert at what I'm doing. And it's just the constant grind, right? To me, that was success. It was more of a numbers game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, fast forward, success is, yes, I'm still grinding because I love it. But it's no more about proving yourself and having to be, constantly, having this growth and scaling. That will come naturally, but success to me now is being able to delegate to a team or a person that is so amazing at what they do. It's giving me that sense of freedom and allowing me to just see these amazing people that I have hired on the team grow. And to me, that's success ultimately, right? And being able to also do more of what I love to do and not what I have to do anymore, right?
I understand that, yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah, success in general, even like I said, the past year, if we're focusing just on the podcast only, I think because we started the podcast when I was already at that peak of my first company, that's why I felt like I could give value, right? I could give value back. But again, starting She Decides Collection, the new brand that, I started back in just 3 months ago, in October. That's a little baby now, right? So that's in its infant stage. So I feel like I'm back to the whole like beginning entrepreneur where I just want to hit that grind. But I know along the way what the do's and the don'ts, right? So that's been helpful. But at the end of the day, success to me, especially now after so many years, is just happiness, health, and achieving what brings you the ultimate joy in life. And that's going to be different for everybody, right? But to me, I know what that is. And I feel like I've reached that level of success, but
Mhm.
yes, am I still hungry for more? Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely.
And you kind of led into my next question, which was the She Decides was never just about a podcast. That's what it started out as, but you always had a
Yeah,
vision for it to be more. And it
I
evolved
did.
into the movement, She Decides collection, as you
Yes.
noted. When did you realize this mission needed a physical expression? And how does the She Decides collection continue to carry on the same message of confidence, choice, you know, owning your identity and just being your reason? So talk about all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's kind of ironic the way that timing works, right? So, I think, we were talking for a good year and a half before about the podcast, right? And I'm like, I
Hmm.
really want to do this. I really want to do this. And I kept on finding reasons though to pivot a little bit, right? I was always like, oh, I'm so busy over here.
Hmm.
But again, this is why this is one of the people that you should always surround yourself with is somebody that's going to hold you accountable. And so I really applaud you for that because you kept on saying, Stacy, like, let's lock in, let's lock in. Even my own son would say, lock in, mom, lock
Lock
in,
it in. Yep.
and you got to lock it in. And so, because things can wait, or other things can wait that I could pause on to focus on the podcast. So, fast forward to that, we started the podcast, right? Um, I just I just know that, having a physical, tangible product um elevates as jewelry, right?
Hmm.
It makes you feel so much better. For example, we're getting ready to start our podcast today. I'm like, oh shoot, I forgot my rings. I want to go get my rings.
Hmm.
I feel better in my rings.
Yes.
And you're like, go get them, go get them. We can wait the 2 minutes.
Yep.
So I went and got my rings. So it's just like moments like that, when you are not feeling your best, or you're just like, I just needed to be uplifted a little bit, and you put on a pair of earrings, you put on that favorite necklace. Instantly, I just feel like it not only emotionally, mentally makes you feel better, but you just look more put together. So that all
Yes.
together makes you feel that much more
Yeah.
confident. But going way back, it's funny how it's kind of how it collided where the sense of being independent, right? I always,
Hmm.
I'm a very, very independent woman, and
I
I
always say
love.
you carry the fridge up the subway steps on your own, and we're lucky if we get to hold a handle or the cord as it drags behind you. So yes, you
Right.
are very
I'd be like,
independent.
yeah, I'd be like, just don't trip over it, but I got it. Don't trip over that cord, but
Yes.
I got
Yeah.
it. I got it.
Yes. Very
But
independent.
yes, yes. And I mean, so there was a situation I'll never forget. And of course I was rushing because I'm always trying to do everything at once, right? And um or so I was rushing, right? And I was putting on this necklace, and it made me a little bit later than what I wanted to be, right? Because I couldn't get the damn necklace latched. But I
Hmm.
was like, I'm gonna get it. And then finally I'm like, oh, I had to ask my husband, like, John, can you come and put this necklace on me? And for him to do it, it's like a process. He's got to move my hair out of the way. He's like all
Hmm.
thumbs, right? And he's just
Bigger
like, oh,
fingers.
yes. And I'm just like, oh, trying to be patient because he's helping me, right? So
Hmm.
it kind of stems from a combination of, I said to myself, that's it. I'm starting my own jewelry line where, every single necklace that I own is going to latch in the front. So we don't have to like depend on somebody to help us with our
Hmm.
jewelry, right? Now, fast forwarding, does every piece of the jewelry latch in front? No, but it was a concept that
Yes.
I said, I'm going to
But
start
they're
this.
easily latchable.
They are very easily, yes, very easily, and especially the bracelets, I can put those
Hmm.
on like in 2 seconds. But that was really what kind of launched that concept in my mind. Now, was I super serious about it at the time? It would have been a beautiful thing, but I'm like, oh, whatever. But the fact that it resonated in my brain and I
The idea
spoke it
never
out
went away. It
loud,
started floating in that
it started
entrepreneur,
floating.
visionary
Yes.
brain of yours.
Yes, it absolutely did. And so, yeah. And then I just remembered saying that. And I love jewelry. Now, I don't walk around with these big, huge chains, but I love just the subtle
Mhm.
jewelry pieces. Some are a little bold, some are a little, they're more petite. But at the end of the day, I feel like they really do, you put your jewelry on, you feel a little bit better, right? Like I said,
Yes.
today I forgot to put my rings on. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't do it without my rings because it makes me feel more confident or more positive. Um, but yeah, so fast forwarding to the podcast, I every one of our guests, I've noticed, I want to say almost every person, they've had some type of jewelry,
Correct.
whether it was dainty earrings or a necklace or a little, a ring, or sometimes they were all out, in their jewelry. And I thought to myself, I'm sure, obviously, like we all do, they're putting themselves together to be a guest on a podcast. And usually the last piece you put on is what? Your jewelry.
Yes.
And so I, again, that thought process from a couple of years ago about Miss Independent over here, can't get the necklace on because I'm rushing. I would have eventually got it on if I did not have a train to catch. Right. But, so that, and then just the combination, it really just was an aha moment. It was like, you know what? This is what I want to do. This is my next chapter in life, to start another business. I have an amazing company already with Family Source, an amazing team. And I love just the role that I continue to play there, but having such a team and a leadership team and just our amazing staff that are such experts at what they do, it has allowed me now to elevate to start She Decides collection. And it's been so much fun and I love it. And we have so many amazing ideas and plans ahead. And again, to elevate women and to put other women on a platform. And so that's what it's allowing me to do. And so really it's kind of like a boring story, but that is what, that one piece of necklace
story. It was born out of a necessity of you needing to be able to get jewelry on, That's something I will not show up to work without earrings. And I may skip a necklace, I may skip something, but my earrings are always in. And I am actually rocking some She Decides Luxe earrings here today. And I have the Luxe paperclip going on as well. And I can name all the pieces.
Is that the
True North? The only thing that's not She Decides is my wedding ring. But, I think because it's an expression of confidence for me. I don't feel confident showing up to a work setting without something like that. And, I used to say years ago, the bigger my earrings, the more confident I needed to feel that day. And now I'm definitely much more I need it put together, and you giving that another avenue to express the confidence through jewelry and really bring those pieces together. I could wear a t-shirt, throw a piece of jewelry on, and I immediately feel more elevated.
You're instantly, elevated.
Exactly.
And it's affordable. And I think that too is so important because, I'm not going to lie, I've spent thousands of dollars on purses and shoes and this and that. Not everybody can do that. Right. And wearing my jewelry makes me feel better than any of those, those products that have cost, a hefty penny. So, I wanted to also create, that the jewelry brand to where it's affordable for, anybody who wants to buy. And it's, the quality is amazing. It's 18 karat gold filled. I have two different lines. There's that, it's the gold filled. And then obviously the stainless steel PVD that's, it's super, super quality pieces. I feel it's the best thing next to real solid gold. And
I would agree.
It's not plated. It's not, it's not going to flake. It's not going to, turn your
tarnish.
Skin, green or tarnish. So I really pride myself in that and keeping it very affordable. We have some pieces that are, $30, or it can go up to 150, but either way, like I feel that it's very tangible for people and affordable. And it makes you feel so much better.
I love that, and just giving them so many options. And if you go out and you look at your website, which obviously we'll put in the show notes, but it's shedecidescollection.com for anybody who's wondering. And FamilySourceConsultants.com. Go ahead and check out both of them for Staci. But if you go out and look at the She Decides collection website, you can see there's such a variety of pieces. So you've got something for everyone. And that really just kind of makes me think about every guest that came on. You mentioned some had certain jewelry, some had dainty, some had this. And I don't think there's a piece out there that
silver,
one of your guests can find something on there. And I love that you did a variety of guests as well as pieces, because every person expresses themselves and their confidence differently through jewelry. And so I love how both the podcast and the collection are connected and woven through that message. That's really exciting.
Yeah. And, and that was done in a way that was obviously purposeful at that time. But again, the way it collided was, I feel like it was meant to be. And again, you can manifest something, but you got to do the work behind it to make that come true, to manifest something, because you can't just hope and throw a Hail Mary and think this dream is going to happen. It takes a lot of hard work, and consistency. And so, launching the jewelry brand, and it's like, again, it's a little baby right now. I know that it's going to elevate just women throughout the world. But again, selfishly, it's allowing me to give a platform and, speaking opportunities and bringing women together, in a way that I strongly feel women need to do now more than ever. And so
Agreed.
it's like, to me, it's everything. Like I said, reaching that level of success, that's my success, is now leaving behind a legacy that I know that meant so much to me. And I know I've accomplished that. But again, like I said, we got a whole lot more to do. So,
Absolutely. Women supporting women, growing the next generation of leaders, all of that is so important to you. And I know that for sure. This episode is more about the 1 year anniversary of She Decides podcast, the She Decides collection. I will share with our listeners, we're going to do another episode here in the near future where I will possibly, or maybe we'll have one of our special guests come back and do an interview of you and ask you the hard questions about what you learned when you first started your first business, what you learned along the way, what you'd like to give back, and then could you apply any of that to your new business, even though one was a whole different animal with social media versus not, and so on. So while I'm sure our listeners are dying to know a lot of the meat and potatoes about your journey as an entrepreneur, we're going to save that and make them have to wait and come back for that. So, but know that we're gonna prompt you there. And then, as you reflect on this first year, I'd love to know what you're most proud of, not just as a podcast host, but as a woman who chose to build this space, this platform, and what do you hope every listener and She Decides collection customer really gets when they engage with anything She Decides?
Yeah, I think we covered a lot of that, in terms of just that motivation to follow their dreams. And I'm going to keep it real simple. And I think just, being an individual to where you can really like close out the noise, right? Any of the negativity, anybody that's bringing you down. And I think one piece of solid advice that almost every single guest that we've had will share, and I always say this, is keep your circle small, keep them real. And that doesn't mean that everybody has to be your biggest cheerleader and tell you things that are untrue. You want that pure honesty. You want to surround yourself around people who want to see you succeed and want you to be happy, and not be competitive, with you. And I think for sure that is something that every woman needs to feel and be a part of, whether or not you're an entrepreneur or not, but just in life, just for pure happiness. Surround yourself around people who, again, they're not happy when they see you fail secretly. You know what I mean? You want the
That's
ones
so
that
common.
it's so common, but it's so common. And and this goes way back to even like family stories of how many women have become surrogates or egg donors who were told they shouldn't, right?
Yes.
And thankfully, many of them said, I'm going to do what I want to do. I have, they have a partner, they have their partner support. Obviously, that's very important. But the outside noise,
The naysayers, yes.
Yes, it's not about that. Just think of how many little miracles wouldn't be here without,
Yes.
These independent women making those choices to do what really makes them feel good and they feel in their heart to do. And so, obviously over the 19 years of that also has formed my decision of, independence and just going out and doing what you truly, truly feel is your calling. But again, those networks or those people that you have in your circle, they're not always going to tell you what you want to hear, but that's okay as long as it's really coming from a good place in their heart and they're telling you the truth. Because you need to hear that sometimes, right? That's important. You don't want all the yes ma'ams, because you could end up walking right off a
You won't
bridge with
grow.
that.
Yeah.
You won't grow. Right. But yeah, so, again, I know I'm a talker. So you ask me a question, I'm going to give you
Go for it. I love it. I remember a time when you didn't share as much. You just kind of one-lined it, even though I knew you had so much to share with the world. You'd kind of hold it in. So I'll let you just keep talking. I'll just sit here and smile. So this is your platform. I could have just said, here, Staci, here's a topic, and you just talked for an hour too. We can maybe do that one of these times. So,
well, as long as it's useful, right?
well, but I think that's something that I think every human, not just woman, but every human, maybe you don't realize the things you say are useful to somebody, even if you don't think it's useful. Maybe just what you say in an hour is your kind of, we can call it rambling or whatever. You're just kind of real talk in the world. Somebody's going to connect with something out of that, even if you don't think it was worth it, right? So just, that's something I encourage you all the time. Just say it anyway, because we want to hear what you have to say, even if you think somebody already knows it or doesn't care, because you do have so much to offer.
Well, I think people in general, they just get used to their everyday, and they're,
Yes.
so it's like, oh, am I repeating myself? But you have to realize you're talking to somebody who isn't in your everyday. And so this is new to them. So yeah,
yes.
You've actually shared that with me many a times, that like Staci, like,
well, and that's why I was happy. I like that a lot of this, we're going to have some great clips out of it, because I got to just sit here and listen. It's really great. So I don't have to edit myself in, which is lovely.
That's the fun part about being a host, right?
It's so great. It's wonderful. I really like the producer side, but I'll dip into this a couple times a year just to spotlight
well, I think
you.
You're natural. I think you're natural.
Well, I got that podcast voice, I can do that. So, well, something I'm super excited about is the next episode we'll do here in the next couple of months, where we're going to really dive into your entrepreneurship and what you did for your first company, your second company, and share more about you in that regard. And then I'm going to kind of close with what's some exciting things that I want you to share with the audience, if you're open to, things that are maybe happening in Miami and other stuff. But before we get to that, I get the pleasure of asking you the She Decides 10. So,
oh my gosh, see, this is something that
I know you never get it. So I've got, and I think I know most of these answers, but I'm just gonna, I'm gonna ask anyway.
And I'll tell you, I'm always jealous, because do you ever see me when I'm doing the She Decides 10 at the end of each podcast? Like, I want to answer those. So I'm like, no, this isn't about me. But I'll be like, oh, I agree with that one.
Answering this or that questions, or filling out quizzes and stuff. So
I'm one of those that, like, I used to, when I would take my kids to the doctor, I love filling out the forms, and I love all that. Yeah. So this She Decides 10, I'm always a little jealous. So this will be fun. I'm on the other end of it.
This is exciting.
I have no idea what you're going to ask me either. So.
All right. First one, sweet treat or salty snack?
Ooh, a salty snack.
Okay. See, I'd say it depends on how you're feeling that day, because
I can go 50-50, but yeah.
Yeah. I get that.
A salty snack.
Okay. Recording in cozy sweats from the waist down, or fully styled?
Oh, I could go both on that one. And I know I hate it when people are like, oh, it could be both, because it's really this or that.
Yeah.
Probably fully styled.
Okay. Got it. All right. Voice notes or handwritten notes?
Handwritten notes.
Yep. Okay. All right. Big dream brainstorming or checking things off your list?
Brainstorming.
Oh, okay. See, I also know you like to check stuff off. So
I do, but I am such a visionary. I do both, but yeah, if I could do one or the other, it would be,
okay.
Visionary piece.
All right. Gold jewelry, simple everyday, or statement piece moments?
Probably everyday jewelry.
Okay. Same here. Okay.
You're very
early
simple.
Morning clarity or late night creativity?
Well, back in the day, I used to be early morning. Now I'm more late night. I'm both though. I don't know. It's hard, but when I'm up and moving, it's later. But probably late night.
Okay. All right. Hosting the conversation or being the one interviewed?
Hosting.
Okay. Same. All right. Dinner out or eating in?
Dinner out.
Okay. Staycation in your house or vacation to another city?
Vacation to another city if I didn't have my dog Kobe. That now I feel like we can't leave the house. My husband won't part ways to get a dog sitter.
Too bad he can't just go with you. So,
well, he does a
yeah.
lot of times, but yeah, no,
All
probably,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
Out.
Follow a plan or following your intuition?
Intuition.
Got it. See, I knew most of those. I think the one that got me was I thought for sure that you would pick the sweet treat a little over the salty snack, because sometimes, I'm the salt girl, but I think I got the rest of them right, and I definitely knew about the traveling to another location. So
Yeah.
that was fun for me to be able to ask you those questions. And every time you ask the She Decides 10 of your guests, I always try to, because you answer kind of a little about how you also, and I like to make sure, oh, I knew that, or I learned something new from you every time too. So that's kind of fun. So
yeah, it's always fun. But yeah, I guess when you're in that She Decides hot seat, it is hard just to pick one. So to have it turned
Yeah.
is, yeah, it is
It's like
hard.
when you say coffee or soda and they say tea. Well,
I know. I'm like,
if
oh, that
someone
was
said
not a
coffee or
choice.
tea to me, I say Diet Coke. It's never going to be coffee or tea, right? So I
Right.
fully understand.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
well, Staci, at the end of this, I just want to give you the floor to kind of share anything that you have that you want to talk about She Decides is doing for the year, and really what that looks like to you, anything you want to clue our listeners in to look out for, or just, anything you want to do to close out this episode.
Yeah, again, we have some amazing plans ahead. I will share just a little tidbit. We are planning to do an amazing women luncheon this spring in Miami. And that's going to be extremely motivating. Bringing, just so many powerful, wonderful women together in one intimate group. That setting, that's something I'm really looking forward to. And I also have some fun and motivating and exciting, a little scary ideas for podcasts that I would love to, do here in in 2026. Won't share that yet, but that's coming. But yeah, and again, we have amazing collections that we are currently in the process of developing and designing that we're going to be dropping here pretty soon. So that's just a lot of good positive things to come. But at the end of the day, my main mission, mission and message to women and just anybody men who want to support women. I have the most amazing husband who supports me in everything that I've accomplished in life and that I haven't accomplished. She's been still supporting me.
Mm-hmm.
But, really is to turn off the noise, the negativity, and just believe in yourself. And be consistent. Just keep showing up for yourself, even when it looks dirty, messy, and you don't think you're accomplishing things. Don't give up. Just keep that consistency and that determination, because habits are they're great, but you've got to be consistent with those habits. And you can have all the motivation, you can be motivated, but motivation can come and go. You gotta be consistent day in and day out, even if you're not your best self. And you may feel like you're not being your best self and you're like, oh God, but other people don't know that, right? So just keep showing up for yourself and chasing your dreams, and the more you do that, you're going to see really positive and fruitful opportunities. And
I love that.
The end desires.
There's that reel that's going around social media that makes me think of you all the time. It's where you think you're not doing enough, or you haven't accomplished this, or like I said, you keep elevating that bar so you never actually achieve your success that you had in that moment or mindset, while someone else is looking at you wondering how you do it. Right? You're inspiring to someone.
That's right. That's right. And anybody who is negative, just realize, maybe they're coming from a place to where they wish that they had the guts and the drive to be you or do what you're doing, and they don't. So they're just going to hate on you because you're doing what they want to do, but they can't do, or they don't even know where to start. And so, you're going to come across those negative people in life, but take it as a compliment, and say, well, sucks to be you, but here I am, and I'm going to surround myself around people who are proud of me. And, you also have to give back. So it's not all about what you're getting from people. You also have to give back to people. and motivate others and be their biggest cheerleader. And, it feels good. It feels good when you come from that place. But, and I also think, and I want to close it with this, is that, networking, and a lot of people think, oh, I have to go to these networking events and I have to do all this. And that's great. And I think networking is a beautiful thing when you go outside to do that. You go out of your way, or you sign up for, this big seminar or what have you, taking advantage of those opportunities. Great, wonderful. But networking can be done right in your own home. You can make a phone call. You can use the people in your circle, and they may know somebody. So think strategically about that. You can network without those heavy costs or travels or whatever it is. So I think that too is, again, it all comes down to believing in yourself, not giving up, being consistent, and utilizing those people around you who want to see you win, because everybody has strengths, and they're going to have strengths that you don't. And so utilize that. So
yeah. I love that. Take
that's
advantage of the channels and the technology and all of that, as well as the people in your life today, because networking has no bounds anymore. Not like it used to when you had to travel somewhere, or you had to. Now it's an immediate connection online somehow, or a phone call.
Yeah. And don't assume people know what you want or what you need or who you are.
Yes.
Just be bold, be a badass and just put it out there, because
just
you don't know. You just don't know. So just put it out there. So just really just remove those, those tunnels and all that, and just put yourself out there, and it'll, like I said, you have consistency. Your dreams will probably come true, but you can't give up.
I love that. Well, Staci, I just genuinely appreciate you taking time with me today, allowing me to interview you and come from behind the camera momentarily. And I'll have fun editing this later as well. So I'll get to also
I appreciate you, because it's earlier your time than it is my time. So I appreciate you.
That's all right. We're flexible in this world. It's all good. And it's nice to be able to see you in action from this perspective. And I am super excited about recording your second episode here in the near future, really getting into the grind of entrepreneurship and your successes and struggles and your everything to help, because I know our guests have been dying to know, and they're not going to get it in this episode, but they will in the next. But thank you again for taking time with me today. And I'm excited for 2026, and we'll target, Emma Greed. I've been reaching out to her, and I don't see why she can't just join us for a podcast. So we'll see what we can accomplish in 2026
it's not like
together.
She doesn't have time. I mean, come on.
She can take 20 minutes. It's pencil us in. We're linked to Aspire with Emma Greed, and She Decides is very similar. So it would be a nice platform there. So
Well, we do also have the common denominator as well of, being successful women, and going after what you want. And like I said, coming from humble beginnings, but also, she built her family through surrogacy as well. So we have that as well.
Yep, that connection too. That's incredible. So again, thank you so much. And I'm honored to have been a part of this today.
Thank you. It's been fun. Until next time.